Yes, let me start then. So in the classification of elements, so I'll be touching on only the important aspect of this classification of element. Very important one we will discuss, because the whole chapter we will not be able to complete, but how much ever is possible I will try to do it. So in the classification of elements, okay, after the modern classification of element, this is how the periodic table we have. Okay, so we need to understand this periodic table. So in the periodic table you will be getting to know that there are total altogether, you can see how many periods are there. There are total 7 periods we have, and then the groups which we have altogether is 18. Okay, so we have 7 periods and 18 groups. So in that, the horizontal rows which are there, these horizontal rows are called as the periods. Okay, these horizontal rows are called as period, and the vertical columns, okay, which is going downwards, you can see first one, second one, okay, all these are called as groups. Okay, so altogether 18 groups are there and 7 periods we have, and in each and every period you can see how many elements are being placed. So you can check out in the first period, you'll be able to see there are only 2 elements. Okay, first period has only 2 elements, and the second period you can see there are 8 elements, and then third also has 8 elements. So this is going according to the Aufbau principle, okay, from the structure of atom, where you are filling the electrons according to the increasing order of their energy level. So first shell which will get filled up will be 1s2. Okay, so that is the reason in 1s2, s orbital can have only maximum 2 electrons. So these are the elements, okay, which will be possible: hydrogen and helium. Helium will fill up the electrons in the s orbital. After that, we have to go for the next shell, second shell. Okay, so in the second shell you have the second period elements placed. Okay, so with that order we have 2, 8, 8, and then it's 18. Then again it is 18. After that you will see that there are 32 elements, and the last one is the 7th one is there. No, that is still incomplete. Okay, you can still discover the elements, and then we can place the elements in this particular period. Okay, so we keep them incomplete itself, because discoveries are still going on and we can place the elements. Okay, now in this periodic table is being classified based on the orbitals. Okay, so we have studied around 4 orbitals. You have studied S, P, D, and then F. Okay, so based on that only we have divided this particular elements into S block, P block, and then D, and then F block. Okay, so your first 2 groups are there. Now group 1 and group 2. Group 1 and group 2 are called as S block elements. Okay, why they are called as S block elements? Because the last added electrons enters into the s orbital. Okay, so here hydrogen, you can see electronic configuration is 1s1. No, hydrogen is having only 1 electron, 1s1. You can see lithium also 3, it is 1s2 and then 2s1. So last added electron enters into the s orbital. Okay, and maximum you can have only 2 electrons, so only 2 groups we are having. Beryllium 4, it is, so 1s2, 2s2. Okay, the first group elements are called as alkali metals, because they are able to form soluble base, and the second group elements, they are called as alkaline earth metals. Okay, first group is called as alkali metals, second groups are called as alkaline earth metals. And the general electronic configuration, I will give you that later. Okay, it will be a mess otherwise. If I have to write here, it will be difficult. So then coming to the next one, see, from 3 to 12 which we have, the group from 3 to 12, these are D block elements. Okay, 3 to 12 are D block elements. And they are also called as transition elements. These elements are also named as transition elements. If you remember why I have told you these are called as transition elements, because their properties are there. No, they are intermediate between the S block and the last extreme ones what you have here from 13 to 18, they are P block elements. Okay, so these D block elements are having the properties intermediate between the S block and the P block elements. So they are also named as transition elements. And the last which we have from 13 to 18, these are called as, these are P block elements. Okay, again definition, if you have to remember, P block means because the last added electron, the last electron enters into the P orbital. Okay, P subshell, and then here the last added electron enters into the D subshell. So that is the reason why these are given the name. And the last you can see here below, separately we can see there are two sets which are placed below the periodic table. So these are F block elements. Okay, these are F block elements, and since their properties are not matching with the vertical property, so they are placed separately in the periodic table. Okay, and they are called as lanthanides and actinides. The first row are lanthanide element, and the next one, the blue ones you can see, they are called actinoids. Okay, lanthanoids and actinides, those are F block elements. So these are based on the block. First and second, you remember, these are S block. 3 to 12, these are D block elements, also called as transition element. And then 13 to 18, we have P block element. Now 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, I have told you there are certain names for it. Okay, this here in the 13 group, the first element which is there is boron. So they are also called as boron family. And here in the 14 group, this the first element is carbon, so they are called as carbon family. Okay, then we have nitrogen. These are called as nitrogen family from 15 group onwards. Okay, whichever the first elements are there, based on that they say that they belong to that particular family. Okay, but then there is one more name given to this. That is for the 15 group element. They are also called as nicogens. Okay, they are also called as nicogens. And the 16 group elements, they are called as chalcogens. They are also called as chalcogens. And 17 group elements are called as halogens, whereas the last element which we have, they are noble gases. Okay, the group 18 elements are noble gases. So these names you can keep in mind, students. 15 group elements are also called as nicogens. 18 group are called as chalcogens. I told you why they are called as chalcogens. Can you all tell me why they were named as chalcogens? You can answer. Chalcogens, and why this 17 ones are called as halogens. Okay, like oxide ore, you have sulfide ores are there. So most of the ores what we get in the nature are oxide and sulfide. Oxides are more. Okay, so they are called as ore formers, so chalcogens. And then 17th group, why they are called as halogens? Because 17th group are called as halogens because they form salts. Yes, very good. They form salts. Okay. So with the metal, these non-metals combine together to form salt, like sodium chloride, potassium iodide. Okay, so many salts we have. Okay, there are a number of salts we can keep on listing. And the last one are noble gases, highly stable elements which doesn't react at normal conditions. Okay, because of their fully filled electronic configuration, stable electronic configuration, due to which they don't react. Okay, so that is all about the different blocks of elements which we have in the periodic table. Let's go for the general electronic configuration. For S block element, if they ask you general outer electronic configuration, okay, general electronic configuration for S block element, see, electrons can range from 1 to 2. So you will write here NS 1 to 2, general electronic configuration for S block. But remember, in case if they ask you particularly for alkali metals, general electronic, outer electronic configuration, you write NS1. For alkali metal, it is NS1. And for alkaline earth metal, it will be NS2. So you can see it ranges from 1 to 2. So generally how we write is in this way. Okay. NS1 to 2. And then for P block elements, P block element outer electronic configuration will have S plus they will have P also. Okay. If you can remember, you take one element and write and see. Okay. For example, if I take now boron, boron atomic number is 5. So when you write electronic configuration, you will understand it is 1s2, 2s2 and then 2p1. So you can see in the outer shell, there are these two orbitals. So there is s orbital also and there is p orbital also. So when you write general electronic configuration for p block element, you will generally write, remove that number and put n instead of that. And both the values are same. So it will be ns2. And all the elements will have 2 electrons each. Okay, students. What will be like varying will be the electrons in the p orbital. Okay, so ns2 I've written, and then np ranges from 1 to maximum what we can have is 6. So you will see that 3 electrons will be there in the outermost shell in 13 group. Then you will find there are 4 electrons. If I take carbon here, it will become 2 here. So total altogether it will become 4. Okay, if I take carbon instead of this, if I now convert this into carbon, it will become 6, no? So 1s2, 2s2. So that will be for 14. Okay, so for 15, you will have 3 electrons in the p orbital. So like that, they keep increasing. So generally, I can write from 1 to 6. This will be fixed, okay? ns2 will be fixed. np1 to 6. Then for d block element, these are important, okay? General electronic configurations are important. And then for d block element, it will be n minus 1 d, and maximum number of electrons we can have in the d orbital is 10. So 1 to 10. And then ns is found to have either 0 electrons or maximum 2 electrons. Okay, certain elements are there which they don't have electrons in them, and some of them have maximum 2. So we are writing from 0 to 2. This is a general electronic configuration for d block elements. And for f block element, okay, it starts from n minus 2. F will be the inside orbital. Okay, so they are also called as inner transition elements. So n minus 2, f 1 to 14. Okay, maximum we can have is 1 to 14, and then n minus 1 d 0 to 1. Okay, and this will be ns2. You follow this electronic configuration itself because this is how it is given in your NCERT book. But then there are elements where you will find some of the books even give you electronic configuration from 0 to 14. Okay, but 0 to 14, they are just placed over there. They don't have the property. So that is the reason we will follow this particular electronic configuration itself. So you remember for F block, n minus 2, F 1 to 14, n minus 1, D 0 to 1, and ns 2. Okay. So n will be the last shell, and d orbital will be the inside shell. Okay. It is called as penultimate shell. The inner shells are called as penultimate shell, and still this is still inner than the d orbital. Okay. That is n minus 2. So these are called as anti-penultimate shell. You need not remember the names now because when you are studying in the second year, automatically you'll be able to get it. But now for time being, this electronic configurations at least you remember. Okay. So 4 are there for S block, P block, and then D block and F block. Yes, next is the nomenclature of elements with atomic number more than 100. So you need to like write down the the atomic number. When they give you atomic number will be given to you, but you may have to write the names for it. Okay, so let me start. This you need to remember, you need to memorize this. Okay, so that you will be able to write the element. So if the digit starts from 0, see a 0, 1, 2, possible is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. Okay, so 9 is the maximum. Digit starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. Can you all hear now? Am I audible? And the name, since it is 0, it is called as nil. Okay, 0 is nil, 1 is called as un. Okay, 1 is un, 2 is bi, 2 is bi, 3 is, this you can remember because your maths prefix are almost similar, no? So in that way you can relate and remember. Okay, so 3 is for tri, and 4 we are not using. Okay, tetra we don't use. Instead of that we use quad. Okay, quadrilateral, so 4 sides, so quad. And for 5 it is pent, for 6 it is hex, for 7 it is sept, for 7 it is sept, and for 8 it is oct, and for 9 it is een. Okay, een. Why we have taken een is because you can't take non, already one n is present. Okay, so we don't want any repeating letters, because when we write the symbol, if there is a repeating letter, then it will create a confusion it belongs to which particular atomic number. Okay, so that is the reason we are not having any repeated letter. Here also, when it was supposed to be hept, we have made it sept. Okay, it is sept here. So the symbol abbreviation which we use here, it will be N, small n. Okay, everything is small. And then here U, then it's B, then T, and then Q, and then P, H, S, O, and then E. Okay, so these are the abbreviations. Now, when you start writing the name as well as the symbol, you need to remember that the starting letter should be the capital one. Okay, the starting letter has to be the capital one. So it should be in caps. Okay, it should be written in capital letter. Otherwise, you will lose your marks. Even though you might have written it correctly, but you have not kept in mind of writing the first letter in capital, then you will lose your marks. Okay, so first letter you have to write in capital, and the ending name, since it's more than 100, okay, 3 digits you will get, and ending name what you have, you will end with IUM. Okay, IUM, because all these elements which has been discovered, these are metals. Okay, so that is the reason why we are ending with IUM. So 3 letters and then you will write IUM. But if there is any repetition of I, avoid writing that particular I. Okay, only write once. You don't have to repeat that double time. Okay, only once. So for example, if I take now 117, what will be the name of this? 117. 1 means un, correct? No, so I should write here, for 1 I should write first letter capital, so I'm writing un. First is un, and then again 1 is there, so again I should write un, correct? No, and then 7 is sept, so I should write here sept. Then ending name I should end them with IUM. Okay, so it is septium. So un, septium will be the name. Symbol will be U, and then small s. Okay, I hope it is clear. This we have already done, but then still I'll give you one more element. You reply, then we will continue with the next one. Okay, 108 students, tell me what is the name of this quickly. 108. Yes, very good. 108. You need to use the digit which I have given here, the names and the abbreviation, that one. 1 is un, yeah, correct, very good. So un nil octium. Okay, so un nil octium, and the symbol U N O, correct? No, yes, octium, IUM. Okay, end with IUM. Yes, so like that only you will get many examples you can take and then practice it. Okay, so that is about the nomenclature. It can come for 1 marks, but it comes in the compulsory part where you don't have the options. Okay, now we'll go for periodic trends in the properties of this element. I'll directly go for that. So much at least you need to remember whatever I did in the starting part, no, that you all brief through. Okay, yes. Now the first one which we have for the atomic radius is the distance from the center of the atom center of the nucleus, okay, to the outermost shell containing the electrons. Okay, so if I take the atom, you know, inside the atom there is a nucleus, and then after that we have the electrons which are present in the outermost shell. So this distance what we have from the nucleus till where the electrons are present in the outermost shell, that distance itself we call them as radius, because it's like a sphere, no? So in the sphere also, when you want to count the radius, you take from the center to the circumference. So like that only, when we measure the radius, we take the distance from the center of the nucleus to the outermost shell till where the electrons are present. Okay, so that distance is called as atomic radius. Now, after you know what is atomic radius, you need to know what will happen to the atomic radius across the period and down the group. That is the variation part of it. Okay, so across the period and down the group, how the atomic radius will vary. So I will write it here itself. Okay, across the period, I will take across the period. Yes, across the period, what actually happens? Across the period, when you're going, what happens to the electrons in the shell? Now, when you're going from lithium to beryllium to boron, okay, you know these electrons will be added to the same shell, correct? No, electrons are added to the same shell. Electrons will be added to the same shell, correct? No, so when the electrons are added to the same shell, what happens to their nuclear charge? The effective nuclear charge which is there, that is increasing, okay? How I told you to remember is like a magnet, because here lithium which is there, it has only 3 protons inside that, okay? Whereas beryllium has 4 and the boron has 5. Like that, carbon will have still more oxygen, okay? Like that, it increases. So you see that the nuclear power is there, no? That is increasing. So when the nucleus power increases and you add the electrons to the same shell, they will have more tendency to grab that electron towards themselves. Okay. So when they take that electron near to them, you will see that area decreases. Okay. So that area is decreasing. Why? Because effective nuclear charge increases. What is effective nuclear charge? It is a tendency of the nucleus to get the electrons closer to them. Okay. So you have to see when you are adding the electrons in the same shell, who is having higher effective nuclear charge. The one who has higher effective nuclear charge, they will be taking those electrons near to them. Okay. So in this case, in this particular period, when I am talking about the elements, lithium, beryllium and boron, then we have carbon, nitrogen and so on, you will find that lithium is very poor in taking the electrons because their power is very less. Okay, it's only 3 proton charge. So that means they are not that powerful. So if you keep adding extra electrons to them, they will not be able to hold it. They can't take that electron. Okay, so their area will remain as it is because they are not able to get the electrons closer to them. Whereas beryllium will be better than compared to lithium and boron will be still better. Okay, carbon will be still better. So effective nuclear charge increases. So this is the main point. If you are able to get how the effective nuclear charge increases, then whatever periodicity comes, you will be able to give the answer for it. Okay, so understand only this point. You are adding across a period for all the properties, it is same, no students, same answer you are giving. Okay, only the thing what will change is the definition of this atomic radius, ionization, enthalpy. Only those definitions will be different, but the reasons what you are giving, it remains the same. So that is the reason I will stress over here more. Then later I will just ask you how it increases and decreases. Okay, so here remember, you are adding electrons to the same shell. When you are adding electrons to the same shell, their power is increasing. Okay, their nuclear charge power is increasing, so they will be more powerful in taking that electrons near to them. So that is what we call as effective nuclear charge, the overall power of that nucleus to take the electrons near to them. So effective nuclear charge here increases. So if that increases, no, these electrons will come closer. Okay, they will come closer to the nucleus. Okay, so their area will decrease. So if this area decreases, then atomic radius also decreases. Okay, so remember, across the period, atomic radius decreases. Why? If they ask you, because effective nuclear charge increases. Now let's go down the group. Down the group you have lithium. I am taking only the first group elements. Okay, the lithium, and then below that we have sodium. Then after that we have potassium. Okay, so in the lithium you see that it's 1s2, 2s1. Okay, first second shell. First shell you have 2 electrons and second shell you have 2 electrons. 1 electron. Second shell you have 1 electron. And then sodium atomic number is 11. So it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and then 3s1. Next shell the electron goes, you see. And then here it will be 1s2 because it's 19, no? Potassium is 19. So 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6 and then 4s1. So see where the electrons are going. The electrons are going into the next shell. They are getting added up to the next shell. So here only 2 shells are there. In the lithium case, okay, so let this be the nucleus and then first shell and then you have second shell. In the sodium case, you have the nucleus, then first shell, second shell and then we have the third shell. Okay, in the lithium case, you are seeing that there are 4 shells present. So you can see that as the shell increases, the distance is also increasing. The group when you are adding electrons to the different shell, you see that the atomic radius, you can directly give atomic radius increases, but you have to justify that why the atomic radius increases. Because here what happens, that nucleus, in the lithium case, the nucleus and the electrons are little closer to each other, so this nucleus can hold the electron tightly, okay, because power is there, no, it's not shielded by much of the electrons. First you have the nucleus, then you have only 2 electrons, and then it's the next shell. So these electrons will be tightly held to the nucleus. But in the sodium case, what happens? From the nucleus till the electrons, okay, the gap is increasing. When the gap increases, there are shielding happening, okay. There are electrons which cover them. So this nucleus will not be able to reach out to the last electrons, okay. They will not be able to reach out to the outermost electrons. So when they are not able to reach them, what happens? That power is decreasing. When the power decreases, that itself is a nucleus, effective nuclear charge, okay. So that effective nuclear charge, okay, down the group, effective nuclear charge is decreasing, okay, down the group, this I am talking about down the group, okay, down the group, you see effective nuclear charge is decreasing. Why they are decreasing? Because electrons are added to the different shell. When that decreases, automatically the atomic radius will increase. Was I clear enough? Now in this, do you have any doubt about the atomic radius? You all understood, right? There is no problem. Yes, I want most of them to answer. If you have doubt, you can ask me. I'll give you 1 minute. So remember, this will be a 3 marks question where they will ask you about the periodicity, maybe regarding the atomic radius or ionic radius, or it will be ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, or electronegativity. Okay, so one among that will be a fixed question. Yes, I think you all don't have any doubt. Let me proceed then. Yes, this one reason you write, okay, that is effective nuclear charge you have to mention. If you don't mention that, then it will not give a correct picture, okay. So it's better always you mention what happens to the effective nuclear charge across the period and down the group. That should be the main reason. Yes, okay, then I'll go for the next one, okay. This is what the picture is all about. Across the period, what happens? You can see all the elements, you can see the size is decreasing because effective nuclear charge increases. Across the period, you will see always the size decreases. And down the group, because they are added to different shell, automatically that power is decreasing. Okay, so that is the reason why the size increases. Yes. Next one, what we have is about ionic radius. Okay, so what will be this ionic radius? Ionic radius will be the distance from the center of the nucleus. It's almost similar, okay, but then the change what you have is the distance from the center of the nucleus up to where they are having that electron cloud. Okay, like for example, it can be different for the metals and it will be different for the non-metals. So in the metal case, if you take sodium, because it's ionic radius, so it will be for ions itself. Okay, so sodium ion, if I'm talking about, sodium ion is formed by losing one electron, no, from the sodium atom. So it will have the electronic configuration as 1s2, 2s2, and then 2p6. Only so much it will be there. So shell wise, if I have to show you, center there is nucleus, and then you will have first shell, and then you will have the second shell. Okay, so third shell is not there. Third shell, this is for sodium. Okay, I'll just write, this is for the sodium. So distance from the nucleus to the outermost shell, this will be the atomic radius. Ionic radius, after losing one electron, I'll just write minus one electron. When they lose one electron, you will have, and like you will be left only with the two shells. So from this nucleus till where the electrons are present in this sodium ion, okay, till where the electron cloud is there, means in that orbital region where till where the electrons are present, that distance will be called as ionic radius. Okay, and in the case of chlorine atom, if I am taking chlorine, chlorine is 17. So you know it's 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, and then 3p, 5 electrons are there. Okay, so here what happens is 3 shells are there. Okay, so 1, 2, and then 3. Plus chlorine will take one electron and get converted to chloride ion. That is negative ion. Okay, chlorine receives one electron to become stable and they get converted to chloride ion. So in this case, what happens, students? One electron they will take extra, no? So compared to that original one, there will be a repulsion. Okay, little repulsion will be created and that cloud will enlarge a bit. Okay, that cloud will get enlarged a bit because they are receiving one electron. So I told you it's quite flexible enough, these orbitals. Okay, this just an area. Okay, so you will see that the area increases. So from that nucleus to the outermost shell, okay, till where the electron cloud you can see in the microscope, till then we measure that as ionic radius of chloride ion. Okay, so that is the ionic radius for the metal as well as for the non-metal. Okay, and based on this you can expect a question to be asked, like why that the size of the cation is smaller than compared to its parent atom. Okay, so they ask you this question, why the size of the cation is smaller. So you have seen just now for the sodium, I told you sodium, you can see sodium atomic number 11. So in that we find it's 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 6, and then 3s1. This is the sodium atom. Okay, and then when you talk about sodium ion, when they lose one electron, minus one electron I will write here, they will get converted to sodium ion. Okay, this was sodium atom. I'll put the electronic configuration in the bracket. So here, when they lose one electron, that means from the outermost shell, one electron has been lost. So when they lose one electron, remaining will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. You will not have electrons in the third shell. Okay, so size wise, if you see, you will be able to get an idea. First shell I have, second shell, and then I have the third shell. Okay, this is for sodium atom. Minus one electron, when you minus one electron, we get only 2 shells. Okay, we don't have the third one. So what answers are you going to give when you are explaining that the size of the cation is smaller than its parent atom? One reason you can see is the number of electrons. In the sodium case, the number of electrons are 11. Okay, and in the sodium ion case, the number of electrons are 10. No, here 11 electrons were present. And when they are getting converted to sodium ion, you have only 10 electrons. Yes, they have lost the electron. Okay, so electron ratio has got down. And see, when the electron ratio decreases, no, their effective nuclear charge will increase, no. So when the effective nuclear charge increases, initially they were proper. For so many electrons, we had so many protons, so it was correct. It was in a balanced way. But when they lose, when they have lost something, they will be more eager to fight for whatever is present now. Okay, so just imagine like in the case of food. See, the food is given for 20 people were there and 20 plates of food were prepared. So then there will not be any fight. But 20 people are there and only 19 plates are prepared. So that time what will happen? Someone will fight for that one plate. Okay, so there will be a fight. No? So when there is a fight, you know automatically that from the large distance it will come to a small area. Okay, when the fight happens. So like that only here, you can imagine that way. So in the sodium case, for 11 electrons, there were 11 protons, so it was balanced. In this case, what happens? There are 11 protons, but then for that 11 protons, you don't have 11 electrons. There are only 10. So then they will try to grab that electrons near to them because they become more powerful now, okay, because they have lost something. It is not balanced, so they try to get that electrons near to them because their power increases. No, they have lost one electron, their power automatically increases. Okay, 11 proton power it is now, and they are having only 10 electrons, so they have that tendency to take one more electron near to them. So surface area will decrease. Okay, so that means effective nuclear charge is increasing. So when the effective nuclear charge increases, automatically the size will become smaller. Okay, so these are the reason you have to give. Why they, if they ask you smaller than the parent atom, then you have to say that they have lost one electron, so the number of electron becomes less. When the number of electron becomes less, then the effective nuclear charge increases. Yes, correct, they attract the electrons even more when they have positive charge on them. Okay, it will be like more tendency, like I said, the fight, when the fight will take place, when they have lost something, if one has lost something, they want to gain that. Okay, so that is the reason that time the fight will be there, and then the effective nuclear charge will be higher. So imagine, like, more is the positive charge, more will be the effective nuclear charge. Okay, more the number of positive charge on the particular cation, more will be the effective nuclear charge, and the size will become smaller and smaller. Like in the magnesium case, if you are talking about magnesium, magnesium size will be still smaller because in them the effective nuclear charge will be very higher. Like that only in aluminum case, it will be still higher. Ions, I'm talking about the ions, because here 3 electrons are lost, so then their power will be very high to get that electrons towards them. Okay, next, why that anion size is greater than the parent atom. Okay, so in this case, you can take any example. You take fluoride or you take chloride. So yeah, I'll make it simple and take fluoride. Fluoride is 9, no? So 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 5 we are having. So total altogether we have 9 electrons. Okay, so when they are getting converted to F minus, they will receive 1 electron. So I'll add 1 electron. Okay, so in this case, electronic configuration will become 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 6. Yes. So the number of electrons increases. Okay. So when the number of electron increases, now it's like for that 20 plate only example you take. For 20 plate, if there is one more plate extra and nobody wants it because that plate is enough for them, so nobody will try to fight for it. Okay. So when there is no fight, it will remain as it is. So here in the fluorine case, that happens. Okay, in the negative ion case, that happens because nobody will fight for it, so that area will increase. Okay, so here it was like you are having first shell and then you have second shell and these electrons are present, plus you are adding one more extra electron. So when that extra electron is added, electron and electron also will have little repulsion, so you will see that the cloud will start increasing. Okay, because you are adding extra electron there. So when the electron extra increases, effective nuclear charge is there. No, that will decrease because now that nucleus is not that powerful to hold so many electrons. Okay, for the 9 protons, 9 positive charge, there are 10 electrons. So then it will be like difficult for them. They can't have a hold of 10 electrons. Okay, so that is the reason why effective nuclear charge here decreases. Okay, so that's the reason. Okay, moving on with the next one. Isoelectronic species, you can understand with the name itself. Iso means same and electronic stands for electron. Okay, iso means same. So you should read the word first and then try to understand what meaning you can get from that particular word. So iso stands for same, like isotopes you have, isobars are there. Okay, and then isoelectronic stands for electrons. So if the number of electrons are same in the atoms and the ions, such type of species are said to be as isoelectronic species. What are the example for these isoelectronic species? For example, if I take now F minus, N3 minus, O2 minus, magnesium I can take Mg2 plus, Al3 plus, neon. Okay, all these will be the example for isoelectronic species. Why they are called as isoelectronic? See the atomic number and then see the number of charges which they are having. So in the fluoride case, fluoride atomic number is 9. -1 indicates that they have taken 1 electron extra. Okay, so 9 was there, 1 electron extra. So number of electrons will become 10. And in nitride case, nitrogen atomic number is 7. Okay, 3 minus means I will add 3 electrons extra. So again 10 electrons in them. And then oxygen also like that, only 8 electrons they have. Plus 2 electrons you add extra. 10 electrons they will have. Now I'll go for this metal case. Mg is 12. Plus 2 means they have lost 2 electrons. Okay, so I will subtract 2 electrons from it. So the charge will become Mg2 plus. Okay, and this Mg2 plus will carry only 10 electrons. Similarly, aluminium atomic number is 13, but you remove 3 electrons because 3 plus is the charge. So when you remove 3 electrons from that, you will have only 10 electrons. And neon, it's an atom. Atom already contains 10 electrons in it. Okay. So these are the species that are the atoms and the ions which are having same number of electrons. Okay. But remember, even though they are having same number of electrons, their size are not similar. Okay. What are the changes in the size, students? Now, since you understood about the size of the atom, parent atom, and then I told you about the ions, cations and anions. Can you arrange them and tell me what will be the arrangement of these atoms and the ions now? Which will come first? Which will have smaller size and which will have a larger size? Which among this has a smaller size? Is it aluminium, magnesium, oxygen, nitride or fluoride ion? Which among this is having a smallest size is my question. See, metal has lost the electron automatically. If they have lost the electron, their area will be lesser. Okay. More is the loss, lesser will be the area. Okay. So remember, always when you see the metal, they are the one who has lost the electron. Yes, correct. So aluminium is the one which will be smallest in size. Aluminium is the smallest in size. Okay, because their effective nuclear charge will be very high, no? And they have lost, see, the one who has lost more, they will be smaller in size. Okay, you imagine that they have less number of electron, like less area in them. Sorry, electrons numbers are same, less area in them. Okay, so aluminium, positive charge, no? So you can remember in that way. Who has more positive charge, they are more poor. Who has more negative charge, they are more rich. So they will be having larger area. More rich means they can have larger area. And more is the deficiency, they can have only the smaller area. So this will be smaller in size. Okay. So aluminium 3 plus is smaller in size. After that we have 2 plus. No, so it will be magnesium here. And then among this only I will take. Then after that it is neon. It's same, no, in this case. So neon will be the one. Then we will have the fluoride ion F minus. Then it is oxide O2 minus and N3 minus. So remember, more is the positive charge, smaller is the size. More positive charge means they are deficient. Deficient means they are poor. They are poor, so smaller area. Okay. More is the negative charge, more electrons. More electrons, more is the repulsion. More repulsion means larger will be the area. So size wise, if they ask you to arrange, remember, okay, more negative, larger the size, larger size. Okay. More positive, smaller size. Okay, this should be the idea you should have in your mind.